Good afternoon and welcome back to Fire Talks, everyone. My name is Chris Brunette. I'm Chief of Fire and Life Safety with the Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control. I'm so glad you could join us today. We are here to talk today about our fourth branch, which is the Community Risk Reduction and Education branch. It is headed up by Chuck Altwater, who is our branch chief there. And it's broken down into two units. One is our Community Risk Reduction Unit, which is headed up by Kim Spuler, and our Professional Development Unit, which is headed up by Jaeger Luke. I have them all here joining me today, so welcome everyone. If you can, I'm just going to give you a few minutes to tell our listeners about yourselves and what you do within the branch and your units. So we'll kick it over to you, Chuck, if you can just introduce yourself and let us know a little bit more, not only about yourself, but about the branch.
Thank you, Chris. Like Chris said, I am the branch chief for the CRRE branch, as we call it. And I've been with DFPC 10 years this year. And I started my career with DFPC as a fire and life safety inspector with the fire prevention branch, doing all of our healthcare facilities, schools, fireworks stands across the state. I did work my way up to an inspection unit chief, and in 2019, took over the professional development unit, ran that through the COVID pandemic, and when the PDU expanded into a branch, I was fortunate enough to be selected to be the branch chief. Took that over, and now I'm here to assist and oversee the branch and do that.
Yeah, no, thank you. And as I think our listeners will learn, the branch is made up of two pretty unique but related units. And so I want to introduce the two unit chiefs now and just have them talk a little bit about themselves and their units. I think we'll start with Jaeger. Luke, if you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and just a brief overview of the unit, and then we'll take a deeper dive as we discuss.
Thank you, Chris. Like you said, my name is Jaeger Luke. I have over 10 years experience in the fire suppression industry. I spent most of my time starting off as a sprinkler fitter and slowly worked through that and did a little bit of international work and service work with Western States Fire Protection, and then eventually found myself into public service with South Adams County Fire for about 2.5 years. And just recently have started working for DFPC, which I'm very happy about and very lucky to be here. And as the unit chief for the professional development unit, I think the common misconception is that we primarily only serve fire folks. And in reality, we also work to helping our building folks also, and really anybody else that hopes or wishes to obtain extra knowledge within building codes and what we do here at DFPC. But as we work through and continue to build this unit, I think trying to reach that point of where we have congruency and information sharing between state agencies, ourselves, and the locals. As we work, we just want to build that relationship and continue to broaden and expand what we offer here at DFPC through PDU.
No, thank you so much, Jaeger. And we're so happy to have you as part of our team. And I'm looking forward to seeing what you do with the Professional Development Unit, or the PDU as we call it. And then our newest unit is the Community Risk Reduction Unit, headed up by Kim Spuler. And Kim, can you introduce yourself and just give us a brief overview of the unit?
Oh, I'm happy to, Chris. Thank you so much. So my name is Kim Spuler, Community Risk Reduction Unit Chief, and I'm actually a Colorado kiddo. I was born and raised here, and I actually did not intend to get in the fire service. I started out in communications and graphic design and advertising, and then I was blessed about 15 years ago to get in the fire service. And so since then, I've been a firefighter, fire inspector, a public information officer, and most recently a community risk reduction specialist. So I've been challenged and tasked with supporting all of our fire departments in the state, building up their community risk programs and whatnot. And I get to work with my 3 colleagues, and we've split the state up in 4 quadrants. And so up in my northwest area is a gentleman named Dane Van Loon, and southwest is Bryce Jenkins, southeast is Melissa Neff, and northeast is myself. And so what we do, we really have 3 main objectives, and those are helping fire departments with what's called a community risk assessment, which I can get into. But it's really analyzing what a fire department is running on and how to keep the community and the firefighters safer through strategic processes. And then we also, once we analyze what's going on, we help support fire departments with looking at their programs and seeing if they're effective, and also is it really the right program for what's going on in that community. And last but not least is we have resources for the fire departments to mitigate these 911 calls or what's hurting the community. And we have such things as a virtual reality extinguisher. We have our home fire safety trailer that's coming out starting in this summer, where we can lend it out to fire departments to do their community outreach. We have bucket brigade stickers for our fireworks season. And then we are starting up our state youth fire setting program, that especially in our rural departments, that can mitigate or support those kids that are setting fires. But we also have our challenges. We are running in currently where a lot of departments are seeing the state coming in and they think working with my group is a punitive action, or they have to do it or whatnot. And it's completely, it's volunteer, and we're just really working for them in order to make sure their programs and their community risk is effective and strategic, and it's not anything heavy-handed or mandated. The other challenge we have is a lot of people will have kind of grandfathered programs, such as, we've been doing this for so many years, we're continuing it on. And I just want to challenge just a little bit, where the outreach is probably great, but can you really do effective programs? Or is your program truly effective? Because just because you're doing it doesn't mean you're making a change in behavior or philosophy in those communities. So that's kind of what we're working with my team. And once again, I feel so blessed that I have a team of hardworking and passionate community risk reduction specialists.
And you do, and it's so cool to see what you and your team are doing across the state. And I recognize that there are those challenges that you talked about, but I also think that the team is handling them so well. And I'm gonna want to talk a little bit more about that later on in the program. But for right now, I want to jump back over to Chuck and just hear a little more from the branch chief and hear what he thinks about the branch, little more in-depth detail about what the branch is doing and where he sees it going. So Chuck?
Yeah, Chris, it's like Kim said, we're here to help. And I know a lot of people say, are skeptical when someone says I'm from the government and I'm here to help, but truly we are. We follow what the needs of the local jurisdiction are. And the fact is that there are so many things now that require fire department to use CRR is for credentialing, for their ISO ratings and other things. And if you have to do it anyway to meet these other programs, we want to help fire departments make that community risk assessment and the programs that stem from it be effective, so that they truly are making their communities safer. With the PDU, we are helping local fire departments provide professional development, continuing education for their inspectors, their plans reviewers, in all the programs that DFPC administers. So school inspections, healthcare facilities, waste tire facilities, fireworks stands, as well as live shows. So we're really here to help and not take over anything, not push anything, but really help the local jurisdiction make the best use of their resources so that they can make their budgets go further, put less stress on their firefighters, and keep people safer for the long haul.
Yeah, no, I love where you're going with this, and it's funny to listen. Not funny, it's exciting to listen to all of you talk, because every one of you have talked about helping. And so this branch is truly about supporting our local jurisdictions. And as Jaeger talked about, it's not just our fire jurisdictions. We really are here to support jurisdictions across the state, those governing bodies that are enforcing codes and that are looking at the risks that are facing their communities and helping to reduce those. So, Jaeger, I wanted to talk a little bit more about that, because you mentioned it briefly, that your team is there to help to provide that consistency to communities through code enforcement, primarily. But it's not just that fire code enforcement. There's a big portion of what you do that deals with the building departments in those communities. And just to remind our listeners from our last podcast where we talked to our building codes branch, we do have a fully functioning building codes branch within the section that provides building code enforcement services to all of our public schools, charter schools, and junior colleges across the state. And so the professional development unit is looking at building departments and helping them out across the state to be able to help out within their own communities. So can you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing there, Jaeger, and just a little bit more about your team as well?
Of course, Chris. So as it stands right now, we are fortunate enough in our unit to have two folks that came from the building side of things. We have Mark Remy and Gabriel Ortiz. And then on the other half, we have two individuals that came from the fire side, one being myself and the other one being Morgan Matthews. And what's so great about that aspect is that we get to do a little bit of everything. And we have folks that came from different walks of life that can kind of touch on and have their own subject matter expert opinion on things, on where they came from and how they got brought into the industry. And I think what's nice, with what we have in our programs at DFPC, we're able to kind of put ourselves into each little aspect of the building. Yes, I understand, like with schools, that's kind of an overlay of everything, but really we can touch on, elevator things and accessibility and fire stopping and firewalls and different aspects of that building that all kind of come together to be a school, to be a healthcare facility. And with our folks, we're able to touch on each one of those things. For example, Mark and Gabe have been offering an accessibility class to building departments. And just recently, they were able to offer that class to Thornton. There's plans to go to Westminster. Just last week, they were in Rifle. And it's very cool to see how they interact with our building folks and are able to build those relationships. And even now, with Morgan just recently offering her fireworks stuff, her and I are able to integrate with those fire folks and build those relationships and kind of sell ourselves and say that we are here to help. We are available to you, because what I'm finding a lot of the time is with the building folks, with our fire folks, is we don't have, or they don't have the bandwidth to kind of offer this extra education. And what's nice about our unit is we come to you. We just need to know what the demand is, what you're looking for, what you're searching for, even down to the point of, if I have a new deputy fire marshal or fire marshal, they just need help passing their, IFC 1 or IFC 2 or IFC 3. We offer those assistant tools, and we'll walk you through it if we have to, because ultimately, when it comes down to everyone within the state, we're just looking for a better educated environment that, with the sharing of knowledge between us and other jurisdictions. Because the fact of the matter is, with all the codes and all the standards we deal with, no one can memorize everything, and no one should be expected to memorize everything. So really, the way I look at our unit is kind of that ongoing Rolodex or that library where you're able to reach out and say, hey, I got, let's say, an airport coming into my jurisdiction. Do you know somebody that has an airport? Oh yeah, we'll refer you to, you know, North Metro, or we'll refer you to South Metro where they have, you know, their regional airports. Or, you know, we being that ongoing information sharing unit is kind of my overlying idea. And Morgan, Gabe, and Mark do a very good job being that Rolodex for local AHJs.
And Chris,
Yeah.
I just want to emphasize something about what Jaeger said is we truly support the entire state. We're currently working with Crested Butte Fire Department. In the past, we've worked with Buena Vista Fire. I'm sorry, Chaffee County Fire. And when we offer classes, we take them on the road, and we routinely offer classes in Grand Junction, Durango, Alamosa, Pueblo. So we truly do serve the entire state.
Yeah, I was going to comment on that as well, Chuck, because it truly is a statewide effort, and that's something that I've truly appreciated about this team and about the CRR unit is that they go where the help is needed. Like Jaeger said, that you know, we aren't just stuck in the metro areas having people come to us, but you all work very hard to go and meet people where they're at, and that in and of itself is really going to help to drive this consistency we're looking for. When I travel outside of the state, I get feedback that, especially in code circles, that Colorado is known for being very proficient at our codes. And so some people might think, well, why does the state need to be doing anything in a state where we have really good people working at the local level in codes, both building and fire? But then what Jaeger just said, I think really drives the point home is that information sharing, that force multiplying, where we are helping to utilize this vast wealth of knowledge that we have in Colorado and sharing it out. So not just you know, our bigger jurisdictions, but all jurisdictions are able to invest and pull from that wealth of knowledge and work together to make Colorado even better. So for me, I look at what this team is doing and I go, well, you know, Colorado is already well known in code circles for doing a good job, and this team is just going to take it to the next level. So the other thing that Jaeger said that I want to emphasize is the talk about how this team is well balanced, and we've got folks who are working on both the building codes and the fire codes, and that's important because too often I think people think of those codes as two separate things that work in two separate vacuums, when truly those two codes rely on one another to be as effective as possible. And so when we are bringing those two codes together and having conversations about how they intermingle, there again, I think we're just going to build on top of what we're already doing in Colorado and make for an even better result. So I really appreciate what the team is doing, and you know, they not only go into it with a knowledge of enforcement, but also an air of education. And that education is really what's going to help make lasting change. And so then that goes back to what Kim and her team are doing. You know, the working together for that education and enforcement is just part of helping to reduce risks in our communities. And then we've got Kim and her team who are taking that broader view of those risks that are occurring in these communities and helping the communities to further address them. And I want to hear a little bit more, Kim, about how your team's doing that and what that process entails.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So community risk assessments used to feel like this giant process where you're going to need all these people and all this money and whatnot. And we have been really blessed with the fact that we are creating both a manual and a template for our stakeholders where we're actually walking them through the process, because as Chuck has always taught us, we want to teach them how to fish. So yes, it's great to give them information, but we really want to make sure they know how to do their own community risk assessment in the future, especially when they go back and want to refresh everything. So we have this manual and template, but what we've been doing is really creating the relationship of opening up the doors to our community risk reduction team and saying, all right, let's analyze everything. And I think people have to kind of let go of their vulnerability and say, all right, these outside people are going to look at my fire department. They're going to look at the calls we're running on. And, we pull NFIRS data and census data, various natural disasters, geographic information, building stock, and a bunch of different information. We layer it in, and we don't go in looking at their programs. We're really looking at what they're running on, what is at risk, what can we do to sometimes mitigate, either stop the 911 call itself or mitigate the severity of that call. But we present all this data and we talk with the team. And we know that these community risk assessments can't be done by a single person at a desk alone in the corner. And so we walk them through the process. And a lot of times I kind of feel like a psychic, in all honesty, because I'll come in and I go, hey, so it looks like you're really running on a lot of motor vehicle crashes in this one area. Is it by chance like during this time of day? Or some of my populations don't have any elders, so they're not dealing with the lift assist, but they have drownings. And so you can't completely say, each community is the same. So we have to look at the fire department, look at their community. And Chris, you mentioned that, we have less staff. People are given more roles in their position. We have less money, but our jobs are still to keep the community and our firefighters and our responders all safe. And so this community risk assessment is absolutely essential to doing the best with the resources we have. And how I like to teach it to my fire chiefs who are like, I don't know about this risk assessment. I go, okay, so you're on a fire scene. If you just showed up without doing a 360 around your building and just lopped water at the structure, some of it might be effective. But is it really the best use of your resources and your team? No. So you've got to walk around the structure and get a true 360. What is this, what is the building construction? What is the weather? What is the smoke doing? How long has it been burning? What did the crews just run on? Are they tired? And so when you get this true 360, you're going to use your resources most effectively and lop that water at the best place using the best resources. So that's really what the risk assessment is. And we come out completely for free to work with any fire department that requests it.
I really like that analogy. I hadn't heard that before, but I think it's spot on to talk about, approaching a fire in that way, Kim. So thank you. I learned something from you every time we talk, and that makes a lot of sense. And I hope that some of the fire chiefs who are listening understand what you just said and recognize that the team isn't here to take anything over. It's not here to try and run somebody else's district. What we want to do is help our fire districts be the best fire agencies that they can, and be most effective and most efficient. So I think that's a really cool way to look at it. And knowing that your team, just like Jaegers, will come out to the fire departments and work with them on that is pretty amazing. I know your team constantly is on the road, out just meeting folks within their quadrant of the state, which it's a big deal. It's a big deal to have somebody, a representative from the state, who's there to assist within that quadrant. So something that I want to talk about. So maybe now we've convinced some of our listeners that, oh, maybe they are just here to help. And even though that it is government, like Chuck said, we're from the government and we're here to help. But we truly are. And so now that maybe we've convinced some folks of that, I guess we need to let them know how to get a hold of our teams and provide this assistance. So maybe Jaeger, I'll kick it over to you. And what is the best way to get a hold of you or your team members to get some help?
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, for us, either you can reach one of our uh, individuals that's in the unit, whether that be Gabe, Mark, or myself, or Morgan, and either that be through email or phone call. But really, what it comes down to is we're going to keep marketing ourselves and trying to pop up in places so we can reach as many individuals as possible. And really, what it comes down to is I let my team kind of run their own schedules and just monitor, and we're fairly flexible. The good thing is we're always looking to help more and more people when we can. So from the building side, I'm starting to notice that those, 4-hour classes or 6-hour classes are really not feasible for those folks. So Mark and Gabe have been offering more of a flexible 2-hour class, or 4 if it's available. But um, they've been trying to hit folks when they can and kind of work around their schedules. Whereas kind of on the fire side, they're looking for those 4-hour, 6-hour classes to kind of knock out in a day where they're able to set aside that time. So really from here on out, if there's something that a need for a class or redoing a class, um, just reach out to one of us and we'll relay that information and try to build something up. I know Morgan currently is in the process of helping the Rocky Mountain FMAC folks with a private water service line class, which hopefully we'll be able to get done here in the next 3 to 4 months. And that came off directly off a need and was relayed to her, and we've been working on it ever since. So, but other than that, we're going to keep pushing forward and developing classes unless we happen to get something from our folks or constituents or stakeholders. Um, but yeah, email, phone call, we're always here and we're ready to help.
Thank you for that, Jaeger. So just two follow-up things. For those folks who haven't met you yet, and if they want to contact you to get things going, what email address should they contact you at?
So my work email is going to be Jaeger, JAEGER .Luke, LUKE at state.co.us.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that with our listeners, Jaeger. And then, I know there's a lot of good information about the professional development unit on our website, which is dfpc.colorado.gov. But for those folks who want more information, please reach out to Jaeger, and you'll be able to get more information from him. One last question I had for you, Jaeger, is, you talked quite a bit about classes, and I know in the code industry, we're always looking for those CEUs or those educational units that help us recertify. Once we get our certifications, it's important that we keep them, but we need that continuing education and those credits. These classes that you and your team offer, do they give us those continuing education credits?
That's a great question, Chris. Yes, we are actually a ICC preferred provider for classes. And speaking from personal experience, someone like me who has NICET certifications, I know those credits have worked to renew my NICETs also. So being that preferred provider through ICC, it does expand to other things. And allows people to get those CEUs, not just with ICC, but with other testing agencies as well.
That's so good. I think that's another benefit that this team offers. And we're always looking for new ways to get those educational units. So thank you for doing that. Kim, I'm going to move back to you, and same question. You've offered a lot of information and have told our listeners all about what your team does, but how can they get a hold of you and utilize these resources?
I hate to bring down like the secret thing, but I'm a real person with a real iPhone. So you can call me and text me. And that's at 720-916-0367. Or like Jaeger, I also have the state email, but that is going to be Kim, Kim, dot, and my last name is Spuler, rhymes with Ferris Bueller if you're of age. And that last name is S as in Sam, P as in Paul, UHLER at state.co.us. And I just want to also say, while I have the chance, we have already, in the time that the unit was actually formed and we had our team, in the last 18 months, we've done 20 CRAs, which is unheard of. So I think it's a giant win. But what I would ask any listener is, if they have worked with us, continue the grassroots campaign of, we worked with Jaeger, we worked with Kim and Chuck. They were real people and they aren't, heavy handed. And they are, despite being with the state, here to help.
That's so good, Kim. And so you just got Kim's information. Of course, she is heading up the community risk reduction team, but like she said, there are 3 other members of the team who are each assigned to a quadrant of the state. Kim, in addition to supervising and leading up the team, she provides the community risk reduction services to the northeast quadrant of the state. But we've got the 3 other quadrants that are headed up by folks. And if you're interested in learning more about them or contacting the community risk reduction specialist within your quadrant of the state, you can do that by going to our website, again, dfpc.colorado.gov. And under sections, the Fire and Life Safety section, you can go to the CRR and Education branch, and under Community Risk Reduction, you can actually pull down the contact information for the team members and find that team member that is serving your quadrant of the state, and they can help you out. So, Kim, you had mentioned at the beginning of the show that the team also has those education trailers. Can you tell us a little more about those and what they're capable of and how people can gain access to those?
Right. They are fantastic. These are the evolution of the old fire safety trailers that had, the smokehouse, and it was kind of fun. But there were issues with those where we were teaching kids that jumping out of their window is like a bouncy castle and whatnot. These are now the next evolution, where it's very high fidelity. It's all ages. We can talk about cooking safety, utility shutoffs. A lot of people don't know how to turn off their gas or water in case of a need. We can talk about 2 ways out of your home and home escape planning. We can talk about barbecue safety, and it's ADA compliant. And so they're about 27 feet long, these trailers. But we will bring them out, working with the local fire department. We will bring it out to whichever event they are wanting and that they see that would be effective for their community. And we lend it out for free. We are still creating the actual request form, but if you come through one of your CRR people, we have 4 of these trailers, once again, 1 in each quadrant. And so the community risk reduction specialist that is assigned to that quadrant will help schedule it out again. They are going to be the hot commodity this summer. And I will say on June 14th, it's going to be released for the first time to the public at the Littleton Fire Muster.
Very good. Thank you, Kim. So again, this is Fire Talks. This is Colorado Division of Fire Prevention and Control, Fire and Life Safety Sections podcast. Today, we're talking with our Community Risk Reduction Education branch. And I want to kick it back over to the branch chief, Chuck Altwater, for any final comments or thoughts.
I just want to say this branch has come a long way in a short time, and they are doing, the people in this branch are doing amazing things for the state of Colorado. And I do hope that fire departments, building departments, other jurisdictions within the state who have a need, reach out to us and we will help them. The CRR unit's not limited to fire departments. If there are other jurisdictions doing community risk reduction work in that space, we'll help them as well. So hospital districts, EMS districts, things of that nature. And the PDU, again, if you touch one of our programs in any way, we will help you continue that education and make your communities as safe as they can possibly be.
Thank you so much, Chuck. And Jaeger and Kim, thank you as well. I truly appreciate you joining us today on Fire Talks. I hope that local jurisdictions will take advantage of all the good things you have to offer. We truly are here to help and support other jurisdictions. So please take advantage of these resources. And with that, I hope everybody stays safe. Have a great weekend. Thanks for listening.